Canada's new Prime Minister Mark Carney has made his first official visit to the United States, meeting U.S. President Donald Trump at the White House. Relations between the U.S. and Canada recently plunged to new lows after Trump suggested the U.S. could annex Canada, making it the 51st state, and the U.S. slapped Canadian exports with major tariffs. During the meeting, Carney told Trump that Canada would never be for sale. Mark Carney's party won Canada's recent national election in part thanks to his vow to confront Trump's expansionist policies. All right, for more now, I'm joined by Emily Rogobert, a Canadian correspondent based in Toronto. Emily, good to have you with us. It seems that there's been little animosity today, but both Trump and Carney, I think they even praised each other. What did you make of this meeting?
Yeah, what we're hearing from Canadians right now, I've spoken to who's watched this ongoing between the U.S. president and the Canadian Prime Minister, is that they are very surprised at how respectful overall that this went. It is being called respectful. It is being called promising. This is the first time the Canadian Prime Minister has met with the U.S. president since all this U.S. trade war and this tumultuous situation with the Canadian sovereignty has taken place. Obviously, he just won the election last week here in Canada, and now the first rule of order is to meet with the U.S. president, which has happened. Overall, it was, like I said, respectful. The Prime Minister himself called it constructive, and that they did have tangible discussions. He just took questions from reporters there at the Canadian Embassy in Washington, evading some questions, speaking very generally, but overall saying that this is the first step in building a new relationship. He did call it the end of the new beginning. And like you just mentioned in your introduction there, Donald Trump certainly took credit for Mark Carney winning the election, saying, quipping with him that this was a bit of a gift. What's going on with the U.S. and what he has instigated for Mark Carney to win this election.
And Emily, is that how it's reported in Canada, that if there had not been a Donald Trump 2.0, a Donald Trump with his eyes on Canada, there may not be a Prime Minister Carney?
That's certainly the case, and that is exactly what Prime Minister Carney ran his campaign on. That was the first rule of order, is that he is best equipped to handle this president in terms of negotiations. We have to remember Mark Carney is actually no stranger to Donald Trump in his capacity as the governor of the Bank of Canada and Bank of England, a central banker, as well as an economist by trade. He has run in circles with Donald Trump before. He has run in circles with world leaders before, being in that position, and therefore he is a negotiator. So that's exactly what pushed Mark Carney to leadership, and now he is face to face with the president. Now, he did say that in the coming weeks there will be further discussions. Mark Carney will meet with his ministers here in Canada, his 13 ministers. Of course, we have 10 provinces, 3 territories, and he said this is really the start of it. We will talk, though. He used Donald Trump's language. I'll speak specifically regarding the sovereignty of this country. Mm-hmm. He said that will never happen. And he also mentioned, he used his lingo, because, again, Donald Trump is a real estate mogul. And he said, some things aren't for sale, and Canada is not one of them. So he did temper how he spoke to the president, and he did choose his spots as to when to speak, of course, because, he didn't want to be, as we say right now, Zelensky. We, of course, remember that infamous meeting between the Ukrainian president. So, he tempered the situation very carefully, and we saw the result of that today.
The U.S. president, he reiterated complaints about what he called the huge U.S. deficit with Canada. He also said that there's nothing that Carney could tell him to make the U.S. lift its trade tariffs on Canada. So is it true? Does Carney have no leverage here?
Well, that's not exactly true. But of course, Mark Carney did not speak up on those unfactual statements that the U.S. president consistently makes. Just before having this meeting, he took to Truth Social, his social media platform, reiterating what he's always reiterated, a $200 billion deficit. In fact, in that meeting just now that you see, he said 200 billion, or so. So he himself is not really clear on those facts. But I mean, just for our international viewers, the clear information on this, the fact of it is there really is not a trade deficit between Canada and the United States. Canada exports over 60% of its oil and gas to the United States. And in doing so, they sell it to them at a discount. And because of that discount, that is why it seems there is a deficit, but really there is a trade surplus, and the United States is benefiting from that. So those are the facts. I mean, the auto industry, even 50% of Canada's auto industry, it's a 50-50 situation between the United States and Canada. So, that is the fact. And Donald Trump really makes these broad stroke statements, and it's really not as is, but we will certainly see how that turns out in the days to come.
Okay, Canadian correspondent Emily Ragavere reporting from Toronto tonight. Emily, thank you.